Hold on to your seats, folks, because we're about to embark on a thrilling journey through history, uncovering those heart-stopping moments when humanity stared into the abyss and blinked. From nuclear close calls to cosmic near misses, these tales are the stuff of legends, and some of them are so unbelievable, you might think they're straight out of a Hollywood script. But rest assured, these events are as real as your last internet search history. So let's dive in and find out how close we came to disaster, and how we got lucky enough to still be here. Number 8. The day the sun almost burned us alive, 1983. Picture this. It's a regular day in 1983, and suddenly, a massive solar flare erupts from the sun, hurling a coronal mass ejection straight toward Earth. This isn't your average solar sneeze. This is a full-blown cosmic hurricane. The CME hits our planet's magnetic field, causing widespread radio outages and satellite malfunctions. If it had been stronger, the event could have triggered widespread blackouts, messed up GPS systems, and shut down power grids. Imagine trying to navigate the city without your trusty Google Maps, or worse, losing the ability to binge-watch your favorite Netflix show. Scientists later called this the Carrington Event 2.0. And while it wasn't a catastrophe, it certainly reminded us how fragile our tech-driven lives can be. The flare was strong, but the Earth dodged a bullet this time. Still, it's a wake-up call. Next time, we might not be so lucky. Number 7. The Great Moon Hoax of 1835. In 1835, The Sun, a New York newspaper, published a sensational series of articles claiming that astronomer Sir John Herschel had discovered life on the moon. And not just any life, bat-like creatures, humanoid beings, and even a civilization complete with temples and blue-skinned people. Talk about a cosmic plot twist. People were so captivated that they rushed to their telescopes, hoping to spot these lunar wonders for themselves. The only problem? It was all a hoax. The articles were created by reporter Richard Adams Locke as part of an elaborate hoax designed to boost the newspaper's circulation. Can you imagine today's Twitter reaction if someone published a similar story? #Moonlife would be trending for sure. It's a prime example of how easy it is to fool the masses with a juicy headline, even when it's completely made up. Number 6. The I2K bug. The digital apocalypse that wasn't 2000. As the year 2000 approached, panic spread faster than a viral meme. The I2K bug was going to crash every computer, shut down power grids, and possibly turn our toasters against us. People feared that when the clock struck midnight, systems would think it was 1900, not 2000, causing chaos across the globe. People stocked up on canned goods, hoarded water, and even moved to remote cabins to escape the impending technological apocalypse. But when the big moment came, the world held its breath and then went back to watching Friends reruns. Thanks to diligent programmers who spent years fixing the problem and probably a few thousand cups of coffee, we dodged a bullet. The digital apocalypse was averted and the world kept spinning. But let's be real, those I2K conspiracy theories still make for good party stories. Number 5. The Tunguska Event. A cosmic close call, 1908. In 1908, a massive explosion occurred over the Siberian wilderness, flattening an estimated 80 million trees in an area larger than the size of New York City. The cause? A comet or asteroid fragment that exploded in the atmosphere before hitting the ground. The energy released was equivalent to 10 to 15 megatons of TNT, about 1,000 times more powerful than the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima. Now, if that had hit a major city, well, we'd all be having a very different conversation right now. What's even more mind-boggling is that there were no immediate reports of a fireball in the sky, because no one lived in the area. The Tunguska Event remains one of the most significant cosmic close calls in recorded history, and it serves as a reminder that even when things seem calm, the universe is just waiting for an opportunity to shake things up. Number 4. The Cuban Missile Crisis. The brink of nuclear war, 1962. The 1960s, a time of peace, love, and nuclear brinkmanship. In October 1962, the world teetered on the edge of nuclear war. Soviet missiles were discovered in Cuba, just 90 miles from the US coast, triggering a tense 13-day standoff. With both superpowers' fingers on the nuclear button, the world waited for one small mistake to trigger World War III. Military advisors were giving conflicting advice, and President Kennedy was forced to make split-second decisions with no room for error. The entire planet held its breath as the US imposed a naval blockade on Cuba, and a full-scale nuclear exchange seemed imminent. But cooler heads prevailed, and after intense negotiations, the Soviets agreed to remove their missiles. It's one of those thank goodness for diplomacy moments in history, but for a while, the world was holding onto their seats like they were watching a high-stakes game of geopolitical chicken. Number 3. The Great Emu War, Australia's Flightless Folly, 1932. In 1932, Australia faced an unexpected adversary, emus. Yes, emus. These flightless birds decided that wheat crops were their personal buffet, and farmers were not happy about it. The farmers, tired of emu-induced crop damage, enlisted the help of the Australian military, who showed up with machine guns ready to fight. What followed was nothing short of an avian apocalypse. The emus, however, proved to be surprisingly resilient and fast. The soldiers, despite their firepower, were unable to stop the feathered foes, and after several weeks of trying, they were forced to admit defeat. Emus 1, human 0. The military withdrew, and the emus strutted off victorious. It was a lesson in humility, proving that sometimes nature has a way of outsmarting us. And who knew that the most embarrassing war in history would be between humans and flightless birds? Number 2. The DB Cooper Hijacking, the Unsolved Sky Heist, 1971. In 1971, a man using the alias DB Cooper hijacked a flight between Portland and Seattle, demanding a ransom of $200,000. Once the money was handed over, he parachuted out of the plane into the night sky, disappearing without a trace. Despite extensive investigations, his identity and fate remain one of the greatest mysteries in aviation history. For decades, theories have swirled around Cooper's true identity. Did he survive the jump? Was he an ex-military man with parachuting skills, or was he just an ordinary guy with an extraordinary plan? While law enforcement closed the case in 2016, the legend of DB Cooper remains alive and well. If you ever get bored on a long flight, just remember that there's still a mystery in the sky that hasn't been solved yet. Number 1. The Dancing Plague of 1518. In July 1518, residents of Strasbourg, then part of the Holy Roman Empire, were struck by a sudden and uncontrollable urge to dance. And not just for a few minutes, people danced for days without rest. More than 100 people joined in, some reportedly dancing until they collapsed from exhaustion or even died. Modern theories suggest mass hysteria or ergot poisoning, a hallucinogenic mold found on damp rye, as possible causes, but at the time, people believed the dancing was caused by a curse. Imagine witnessing hundreds of people dancing uncontrollably on the streets, one of the strangest phenomena in history. It's safe to say, this wasn't the kind of dance party anyone had in mind. It was more like a medieval nightmare complete with a beat you couldn't escape. And there you have it, some of the wildest events in history that almost ended the world as we know it. If you enjoyed this roller coaster of crazy history, don't forget to hit that like and make sure to subscribe. We've got plenty more where that came from. Drop a comment below with your favorite near-apocalyptic event and why. Until next time, stay curious, stay safe, and keep your seatbelt fastened because who knows what's next.